Crawlers.
The world is coming undone. Imperial flags reign across the galaxy.
Hey guys, what's up? Jared Seach with Dungeon Crawlers. You guys know why I'm smiling. You know why I'm excited. Dude, this Rogue One trailer was absolutely out of this world. And it just dropped this last week. Yes, we have another trailer. They're somewhat similar in the details and stuff that they gave us. But man, some of the new footage and the new rendition of the music in the trailer, it just takes me back to the first time I was sitting in the cinema. Yes, I'm young. I had to see the re-release in 1997. But it reminds me of the first time I had ever watched Star Wars. And it sort of led up to all this. Like, I'm a filmmaker now because of Star Wars. And to be thrown back into that time period in my life where everything was new and exciting and mysterious and fun, like, it was special. And this new Rogue One film looks and feels a lot like the energy and the format that was brought to us in A New Hope. I know that wasn't easy either. Because the difference between Gareth Edwards, the director of Rogue One, and the J.J. Abrams, the director of The Force Awakens, is pretty stellar. It's very different tones and atmospheres. The reason of that being is because J.J. Abrams was given the task of creating a new trilogy, something that we haven't seen before. Yes, it's similar to what they did with the prequels, but it's also different because it more directly connects to the original trilogy. So with all that in mind, JJ had to create a new mood, a new atmosphere, a new look for this new trilogy, which is absolutely fine. I loved The Force Awakens. When people hear me talk about Rogue One, how excited I am, they automatically assume I didn't like The Force Awakens. I'm like, no. Force Awakens is absolutely great, amazing, but it is its own thing. It is its own thing. It is its own trilogy, and that is absolutely fine. The difference between his and Gareth Edwards' jobs was Gareth Edwards was given the monumental task of having to flow his film into one of the most beloved films of all time, Star Wars: A New Hope. And just given and just using what I've seen from the trailer so far, he's nailed it, dude. Like, visual effects have come a long, long way since 1977. But Gareth Edwards has found a way to balance out what needs to look real, e.g. the Star Destroyers in the trailer, the Death Star. Whatever he's done, it looks like the models from 1977. It might actually be models. I'm thinking it actually might be CG that has been made to look more like models, which is even more like genius and smart. But whatever he's done, he's taken the love and understanding of the original trilogy and just pushed it into his new film. There's a lot of love that has gone into this movie, and you can tell by the characters, visual effects, planets, atmosphere, dialogue. This is a fun movie. You notice when Alan Tudyk's character, the droid, comes up to Jyn Erso and says, "The captain says you are a friend. I will not kill you." That is funny. That is funny to me, especially someone who's played Knights of the Republic, because he reminds me of HK-47, like if you have played Knights of the Republic and love HK. But it's the same sort of relationship that you see between, like, maybe C-3PO and Han Solo. Like, there's this gap between a droid and a human that it'll never be filled, but at the same time, it's really humorous to see different perspectives from an organic and synthetic being. And they're taking a new twist on it with, like, a more of a savage, killing kind of robot or droid. And I think that's going to be a really fun character, and the casting was phenomenal. Speaking of casting, Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones. Everyone has had a problem with Felicity Jones being the star of this film because there's so many people out there who are like, oh, it's the sexist agenda, it's the women's rights and all this bullcrap. And you know what? It doesn't matter, to me at least. I mean, I've seen it where it's forced maybe a little bit in like Ghostbusters, those kind of blockbusters, but I think in this film it's more about the story. And you need to have a protagonist that's likable, a protagonist that you want to relate to. She's not the perfect human being. She's obviously been in some kind of trouble before they picked her up and said, listen, if you want a clean slate, you got to help us take down this massive Imperial weapon. And I think that it was necessary for the story to make this character a female. Now, to tie this up together a little bit, we released a video a little while back about the Rogue One films being inspired or maybe even based on the Jedi Knight video game series, because there's so much information that matches the story from the Jedi Knight series with Kyle Katarn. And now we know that's not the case, but at the same time, you can see where the film was influenced by this story. Jyn Erso, Kyle Katarn, all these other characters that are from separate, EU stories, they kind of fit together. Kyle Katarn looking like the Hispanic character in Rogue One. Jyn Erso and Jan Orris have a very similar name and look. The droid that was always toting around with Kyle Katarn looks a lot like Alan Tudyck's character. And then just the overall story of taking down the Death Star, that's also pretty big in connecting to the Jedi Knights franchise. But we were wrong. It was definitely its own thing, but I'm not going to give up in saying that this was definitely inspired in some way by Jedi Knight. Gareth Edwards, if you're watching this, let me know if you played the series. If you had maybe a little bit of love for it that you pushed into this film, let me know, because I see it and I think it's awesome. All right, lastly, Rogue One, coming to theaters December this year. I want to know your guys' excitement. What came out to you? Some of the new characters that maybe I didn't cover here. Some of the more the Asian characters that seem really, really cool. I think the coolest line in the whole thing was something like, I don't fear anything because everything happens as the Force wills it, with the blind guy with the staff. That is, like, just from the trailer, a line that will live on forever, at least for me, in the Star Wars saga, because that is powerful, man, and it shows how much depth that each one of these characters have. Lastly, man, that shot at the very end where the guy comes out with the rocket launcher and goes after the new giant, huge, mega, ultra AT-AT, which I think it's called an AT-ACT now or something like that. That is really cool. And I was talking to my friends the other day about what scene makes itself iconic to every Star Wars film. Because if you think about it, every Star Wars film has a moment where you're like, this is what I think of every time I think of A New Hope. I say A New Hope, or someone tells me A New Hope, I automatically go back to the trench run on the Death Star, because that to me was the most mind-boggling, exciting, edge-of-your-seat entertainment I've ever experienced. Somebody says Empire. The Empire Strikes Back, I automatically go to either the Walker scene on Hoth or the moment you find out Vader is Luke's father. Like, these scenes are iconic, and I see so many things in this film, just from the trailer, that are going to imprint these moments into my mind as a viewer and a fan, that I think of maybe the beach assault when I think of Rogue One, or I think of some of the space battles, or the planet being blown up. We see them like trying to escape from the planet, like ripping itself to shreds and then blasting off into hyperspace. There are a lot of moments where I think this is going to do the same thing for me that all the other Star Wars films has done. And it's very important to do that. And it's a very honorable thing to do that. So I just wanted to close with Gareth Edwards. I've been a huge fan of you since the beginning. Okay, I think the first time I watched anything of yours was a film called Monsters. If you guys haven't seen Monsters, go out and look on, I think, Netflix or something. I think they might have it on Amazon. Very, very well done, low budget creature feature. And since then, he's gone on to do bigger and better things like Godzilla and now the Star Wars Rogue One film. This man knows what he's doing, and he has a deep appreciation for source material. Take a look at Godzilla. A lot of people were like, Godzilla was okay. But if you watched the original Godzilla films released way back when, you probably enjoyed it more than the average, viewer, because it was so close to the source material that made me love Godzilla to begin with. So, Gareth, I have complete faith in what you're doing. I see the love that you put in this movie, and I cannot be more excited to see all of these different elements that you've paid attention to transferred and duplicated in this film. I also understand that this is his own movie. Rogue One, it's its own thing, its own characters, its own adventure. But there is no denying that it has a deep appreciation and understanding of A New Hope, because I have to predict that as soon as I'm done watching this, if I put in my A New Hope DVD or Blu-ray and I watch them back to back, it'll feel like a continuous story, which is what it's supposed to do. So what do you guys think of the new trailer? I'm absolutely fantastically excited. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Leave any questions, any concerns, any comments you want for Gareth or anyone involved in the film. This looks absolutely freaking fantastic. I think the best word of the day for me when I got done watching the trailer was fun. It looks fun, and I am highly anticipating this movie, and it gives me a lot of hope for the other spin-off movies coming off of Star Wars, because it looks like they are doing it justice. They don't have a 1, 2, 3 act system like the rest of the movies. We're going to see for the first time a start, finish, end film within a normal feature-length runtime. I'm very excited. This is all very new and amazing. So leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought. This is Jared Seach with Dungeon Crawlers. Later.